Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be looking at some more of the new Dina Wakley release, in particular the new blue journal. So this is her new journal that she's just released, which has got 3 different substrates and one of which is the denim. And I'm really enjoying working on the denim. I struggled with the craft colour. I think because it was brown, but because I love blues, I've been finding it really easy to work on this denim. So I'm just starting off with some gesso. In this case, I actually just use white paint because I've run out of gesso. I'm just scraping it across the denim and adding in some of the magenta paint. So these are just all straight paints onto it. I haven't watered them down. I'm just using the scraping tool to scrape them across the page. You can see the 2 odd rectangle shapes in the middle. That's because I've got some chipboard on the page before, and I'm just sort of working around it, but it works in the end. I'm now adding in some fuchsia paint, and again using my scraper tool, just dragging it across the page. And this is just a really quick way to get paint applied to your page without worrying about it. I'm just using a grey lead pencil and scribing into the wet paint, and what that does is put some texture into the background. It's got some journaling in that I don't necessarily need to read, but you know, I've got my feelings down on the page, but what happens is it scrapes up the wet paint and you can actually see some of that blue coming through and the texture of the denim coming through underneath. So all I'm doing now is just using my heat tool to dry the paint, just so it's workable and I can add some other things in. So I'm now going in with some cheddar, which works really, really well with that fuchsia colour, and watering down this paint a little bit so it just moves a little bit freer over the page and it's a little bit more translucent than the other 2 applications. You can see it going over the top of the pencil markings that I've done too, so you can still see the pencil markings, but they've been blended in with the cheddar paint being added over. I'm now using the paint straight from the bottle, this eggplant paint, and the bottles have got this lovely fine needle tip on it, so you can actually do little dot making patterns with them. It does take a lot longer to dry though, because you're putting on a little bit more paint than you usually would. In the background it's been spread out quite a bit, so it dries quite quickly, whereas with those little dots of paint it did take a little while. To add a contrast of colour on the page, because most of the colours I've been using are analogous, they work together on the colour wheel, I'm now using a contrast. So I'm using some sky, just with my paintbrush, and just making some quick marks. And you'll notice across my page I tend to work in 3s to create sort of triangles on the page. So I've got 3 lots of those eggplant dots on the page. I'm going to put 3 lots of that blue on the page, sort of that they work. I'm kind of joining them up a little bit, but you can sort of see those 3 separate parts. Same with the fuchsia on the background. There are 3, not fuchsia, sorry, the cheddar, the yellowy colour. There are 3 parts to that. So I tend to work in 3s, and most artists will work in odd numbers. I chose 3 because it's a good rule of a number to stick in my head. When I do any mark making, I tend to do that, and I know that I need to do it 3 places on the page and done, so it takes away that decision making somewhat. So once I've finished, I've just dried the paint. You can see me sticking my finger in it to see if it's dried yet, and it hadn't, so I'm still waiting around. I didn't want to close the page to put the paint on the other page. I'm going with the Stabilo oil pencil just to add a little bit of black to the page. I didn't want lots of black, I just wanted a little bit of shadowing on the page, so I'm going around some of those blue squares just to add a little bit of shape to them, I suppose, and going back in and trying to dry those little dots off. I really love this page as it was, and it's very un-me to leave something. I feel it's unfinished. It's not, but it didn't have any text on it, so I decided I wanted to add some text to it. So I'm using one of the new releases chipboards from Dina Wakley, and I haven't actually done anything to it. I'm just putting on plain onto the page just to say do it, partly to encourage me to actually do some abstract things like this, because I really love the process and just leaving it as is. And you can see with that beautiful open pattern, you can see through to the background. So here's a close-up of the final page. You can see the texture from the denim. It's a great substrate to work on, and one of the best things about it that I found, I've done a few pages using it now, Unlike the canvas in the other journal, it doesn't shrink, it actually stays true to size, so you'll actually have your pages staying the same way that you want it to. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out all the other Dina Wakeley new release videos that I've got coming up in the next little while in January. Until next time, bye for now.